Hollywood wants you to cheat so bad. Again. We already exposed how movies and TV glorify cheating, how they make us root for the betrayers like it's all just part of a grand love story. But it actually goes much deeper. Hollywood has been out here pushing the same narrative since the very beginning. The 1920s to the 1950s could be called the Golden Age of Infidelity in Hollywood. Even the so-called wholesome early days of Hollywood had cheating everywhere. Casablanca, way back in 1942, one of the most beloved romances of all time, and it's about a woman torn between two men while technically still married. But we forgive it because it's dramatic and poetic. Anna Karenina. If Hollywood loves one thing more than cheating, it's remaking cheating stories over and over again. The Place in the Sun. Montgomery Clift's character falls in love with a wealthy woman while still in a relationship. The way out? Hey, just murder his pregnant girlfriend. The 1940s and 50s were filled with these kinds of tales. But let's be real, society was much different back then. Women had fewer rights, and in some cases, infidelity was framed as an act of rebellion. Women stuck in unhappy marriages weren't even legally allowed to have their own bank accounts in many places. Does that excuse cheating? No. But it explains why, in some stories, it was framed as the only way out, or an act of independence and rebellion. It was about agency and control in a time when women had little of either. But Hollywood didn't stop there. Between the 1960s and the 1970s, this was the free love era, aka Hollywood unhinged. Everything went off the rails. The Graduate, which is the OG MILF affair. Dustin Hoffman's character has an affair with Miss Robinson and then pursues her daughter. Messy, messy, messy. Love Story, the movie that made Love Means Never Having to Say You're Sorry famous, which is a terrible life motto, by the way. Well, the movie's not about cheating directly. It lays this groundwork for relationships based purely on feeling, which is the same logic that often excuses infidelity. Kramer versus Kramer. Meryl Streep's character cheats, leaves her husband, and then comes back and wants custody. And we're supposed to sympathize with her? This era was all about pushing boundaries. The idea of marriage as an unbreakable institution was falling apart. But instead of advocating for healthy relationships, Hollywood doubled down on cheating as an act of personal freedom. During the 1980s and 1990s, the cheating playbook becomes a genre. This is when cheating movies didn't just exist, they became a formula. Fatal Attraction. Guy cheats, mistress goes full psycho, and somehow we're supposed to feel bad for him? Pretty Woman. Technically not about infidelity, but the message is, hey, if your current partner isn't treating you right, a rich stranger can swoop in and fix everything. Jerry Maguire. Starts with a man in a long-term relationship who emotionally cheats before dumping his fiancée and moving on with a single mom. But since it's Tom Cruise being charming, we let it slide. By this time, cheating wasn't even controversial in films. It was just part of the romance blueprint. In the early 2000s to present, Hollywood doubles down. Cheating in modern movies is still thriving. We have Brokeback Mountain, a powerful story, yes, but also both main characters cheat on their wives for years instead of just leaving. 500 Days of Summer. Well, there's no full-on cheating. It normalizes the idea that emotional connections outside of your relationship are fine as long as you're soulmates. Bridgerton. Don't hate me for this one, but this show makes infidelity downright elegant. Beautiful costumes, forbidden romances, and scandalous affairs, all wrapped in classical music covers of pop songs. And TV? Oh boy. We're talking Married with Children. Al Bundy constantly flirts with other women, making infidelity a joke. Mad Men. Don Draper is basically a professional cheater. Modern Family. Phil Dunphy constantly crossing boundaries, but it's fine because he's goofy and relatable. But you see, Hollywood's real cheating problem is behind the scenes. Hollywood doesn't just depict infidelity, it lives it. Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton cheated on their spouses together, got married, cheated on each other, divorced, then remarried, then divorced again. Kristen Stewart and Rupert Sanders, cheating scandal while filming Snow White and the Huntsman. Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie started during Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck. You can name almost any celebrity and find instances where they cheated on one partner or spouse, and sometimes multiple times. Hollywood isn't just showing infidelity, it's justifying it, normalizing it, and making sure we see it as passionate instead of what it actually is: selfish, immoral, and just plain wrong. Ultimately, cheating is a choice. Look, I get it. Feelings are complicated, relationships are messy, but commitment isn't about feelings, it's about character. Commitment isn't about circumstance. If you say you're committed, be committed. If you want out, have a damn conversation. Even a text saying we're done is better than nothing. Because the idea that if it feels right, it must be right is the exact logic that Hollywood has been feeding us for decades. And honestly, I'm tired of it. But before we wrap this up, let's be fair. We're all human. We're all capable of making bad choices. And Hollywood does get it right sometimes. Not every movie glorifies cheating. Some stories actually show the beauty of real commitment, of choosing love even when it's hard, or staying true to your word even when temptation knocks. The Princess Bride, a love story where Wesley remains completely devoted to Buttercup despite years apart, actual death threats, and torture. No side flings, no, well, I was lonely, so excuses, just pure, unwavering loyalty. And maybe the best example ever is the movie Up. In the first 10 minutes, Carl and Ellie's love story is told without a single word, and it's one of the purest, most heartbreaking depictions of true commitment. The best love stories aren't about sneaking around behind someone's back or finding excuses to the people you claim to love. The best love stories are about choosing each other day after day, moment after moment, because love isn't just a feeling, it's a choice. And that's a story worth telling.